Okay, in this video you'll be learning something new. We have x to the second power equals 9. Now, don't write anything there. X to the second power means there's a number, there's this mystery number that we don't know, that's why the x is there. There's a number times itself that gives us a product, that means an answer of 9. What is it? Well, number times itself. Well, here's 9. That's 3 times 3. So 3 is the mystery number for one of them, but there's also another mystery number, and that's negative 3 times negative 3. Okay, negative 3 times, negative 3, that just put 9 there. Okay, negative 3 times negative 3 also equals 9. That should be 9, not negative 9. Negative times a negative is a positive, and then 3 times 3 would be 9. So it's 3 and negative 3. Now, when we go and solve these equations here, we have 5x to the second power minus 3, and I want you to change that from a 128 to a 127. Just do it, 127. So before I solve an equation, I need to know what my variables are. So we have x second, and that's it. So x second only. So in the previous lessons, when we had x only, we applied linear properties. When we have x second only, we're also going to apply the linear properties method. So you won't have to be drawing boxes. But then since the x is to the second, we're going to get rid of the second power with a square root. Okay? That is a square root. That should look familiar from middle school. Square root is what number times itself equals the number inside. So there are two answers because we have x to the second. So I want to see those there. Now remember how linear properties work. You make sure you only have a single x. You do. Okay, then you make a wall on that side. What are the operations on that side? Well, this is times. This is a power. Don't put anything for that. Then minus 3. So I'm going to circle the times. Then I take out the minus 3 with plus 3. And 127 plus 3 is 130. Okay, then you take out the times with a division, just like you normally would, and x to the second. 130 divided by 5 is 26. Now, this is what you do about a second power, okay? You take out the second power, and the opposite of a square, you get rid of a second power by doing a square root, okay? That is how you get rid of a second power. So anytime we do a square root, you're going to put a positive sign on top of a negative sign. And then you find what number times itself is 26. Well, that's what the square root of 26 means. Well, 26 isn't in that row, so that's fine, but we can find it on a calculator. So you tap this, here's how you find it. You tap second, you hit second, and you hit this key next to the 7, okay? Because see, the square root operation is right there, okay, right above the key. That's why you have to hit second before you tap the key. If you want the symbol above the key, you have to hit second and then the key right there. Tap it, and then you put in 26. 5.09. If you want to put 5.10, that's fine, okay? So it could be positive 5.09, but it could also be negative 5.09. That's why the positive's on top of the negative. Okay, next problem. We have negative 7x to the second power plus 2 equals negative 194. So, what do you have for variable? You have x to the second, but there's no other types of x, okay? So x second only. So you're going to apply the linear properties. But since the x is to the second, you're going to do a square root. Okay, so there's two answers for x. Now we make sure there's only an x on one of the sides, and there is. Okay, so I have times here, because there's no symbol between those, a second power, and then a plus 2. So we highlight the times, or circle it. You take out your plus 2 with a minus 2. So negative 7 times x to the second, still circled, and then negative 194 minus 2 gives me negative 196. Then we get rid of our times negative 7 with a divide by negative 7. And then x to the second has been solved for. I got 28. So now I take out the second power by applying a square root on the other side. The opposite, you know how the opposite of plus is minus, the opposite of times is divide and all that. The opposite of a second power is a square root. So it could be the positive or the negative. So you put a positive on top of a negative, then you tap the second key, then the square root next to the 7, and that's 128. So 5.29. So it could be the positive or the negative. Okay, next problem. 3x to the second power plus 2 equals 56. Okay, so again, for x's, you have x to the second only, so you will be applying linear properties with a square root, because x is to the second. We'll need to get rid of that second power at the end. So there's two answers. So over here, this is how you apply linear properties. You don't be drawing any boxes or looking for the 0 or anything like that. Okay. Okay, so I circle my multiplications there. X is to the second. We have a plus 2. You get that x to the second circled. You take out your plus 2 with a subtraction of 2, which takes you to 54. And then 3 times x to the second still. Then we get rid of our times 3 with divide by 3. And that 54 divided by 3 is 18. So x to the second power is equal to 18. Now, you get rid of the second power with a square root. So it can be the positive or the negative. And the square root of 18, so I go second, and then the key next to the 7 gets you the square root sign up. Then 18, 4.24. So 4.24, negative 4.24. Okay, next problem. 4x to the second power equals 80. Again, I look through the equation, and for variables, I see x to the second, but that's it. So it's x to the second only. So anytime we have an only of anything, we're applying linear properties. Okay, square root. Okay, so over here I have times. Now there's no plus or minus, so we go straight into the dividing by 4. Okay, so we have x to the second, and 80 divided by 4 equals 20. Then you take out the second power with a square root. You're not dividing by 2, okay? Square root finds what times itself is 20, which means what to the second power is 20. So positive, negative, and then I find the square root of 20. So second, key next to the 7, 20, 4.47. And again, that could be the positive, it could be the negative. Okay, next problem. X to the second power minus 4 equals 176. So x equals x, oh sorry, we have x to the second only. You can see that. Okay. And you're going to use the linear properties followed by a square root. Now, you can put a multiplier of 1 on that x if you want, but I think I've already told you that a dot number 1, a multiplier of 1, you really don't need. So you're going to just take it, you won't be dividing. You take out your minus 4 first by adding 4, and that would take you to 180. then we can skip the dividing and just then find the square root. Okay, so it could be positive, negative, and then I find the square root of the number 80. 13.41 or 42. Okay, negative 2x to the second power plus 3 equals negative 21. So we have x to the second, but that's only all we have. We don't have x to the first, just x to the second. So that's good. It's not as much work for us. It's a simpler kind of equation. Okay, so there's two answers. So negative 2 and x mean no sign means multiplication. Then the second power plus 3, so we're going to circle the multiplication. You take out your plus 3 with a minus 3. Negative 21 minus 3, remember to make 21 a negative, it's negative 24. And you divide by negative 2. X to the second equals positive 12. Now you got to find number times itself. That's 12. It is not 6. That's plus, okay? So x could equal the positive or the negative. Then I find the square root of the number 12. So second. And these are called irrational numbers. We just round them. 3.46. So you could have 3.46 or negative 3.46. Okay, 4x to the second power plus 2 equals 18. So we have x second only. So again, you will be applying linear properties as square root. Okay, so we know there's two answers because we have x to the second power. So now I go work on the equation. So you got times second plus 2. So you take out your plus 2 with minus 2. 18 minus 2 is 16. And times 4, take that out with divide by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. Then you apply the square root. So x could be the positive or negative. And then we will find the square root of the number 4, and it's 2. So it was rational square. It was a rational square root, so 2 and negative 2. Okay, negative 3x to the second power plus 6 equals negative 24. So I have x to the second only. We apply linear properties, followed by a square root. Alright, so multiplication plus, you take out your plus 6 with minus 6. That would take you to negative 30. And then you divide by negative 3. That's 10. Now I find the square root of the number 10. It's not 5, okay? The square root means the number times itself, that is 10, not plus itself. Could be positive or negative, because a negative times a negative is a positive 2. So I go second, square root 10. So it would be 3.16. Okay, so we could get positive 3.16 or negative 3.16.